Have you ever wondered about the other life you live? The one that begins the moment you close your eyes? It's a world built without hands, painted without brushes. A world where you can fly, breathe underwater, or speak with long-lost friends. This isn't a land of fantasy, but a realm woven into the very fabric of your mind. For millennia, we have tried to map this territory, to understand its language and decipher its secrets. Are dreams merely random firings of a resting brain, or are they whispers from our deeper selves, messages from the vast, uncharted landscape of our subconscious? Tonight, we're not going to try and solve every mystery. Instead, we're going to drift. We will journey together into the world that begins when you close your eyes, exploring 100 fascinating truths about the ethereal, mysterious, and wonderful phenomenon of dreams. So, find a comfortable position. Quiet your mind. Fact 1. Everyone dreams, even if you don't remember. It's a common phrase you hear at the breakfast table, "I don't dream." But scientific evidence overwhelmingly suggests that this isn't true. Everyone dreams, and not just once a night, but multiple times. The experience of dreaming is most vivid and frequent during a specific stage of sleep known as REM, which stands for rapid eye movement. The average person cycles through REM sleep several times throughout the night, with each cycle lasting longer than the last. The final REM period, just before you wake up, can last up to 45 minutes, providing a grand finale for your mind's nightly productions. So, why do so many people feel like they don't dream? The answer lies in the mysterious process of memory consolidation. Our brains are not designed to remember every single detail of our lives. They filter what's important. During sleep, and especially upon waking, the neurochemicals associated with memory formation, like norepinephrine, are at very low levels. Unless a dream is particularly emotionally charged or you wake up directly in the middle of it, the intricate details and narratives simply fade away like mist in the morning sun. It's not a failure of dreaming, but a function of forgetting. The stories are still being written every night. You just don't always find the book in the morning. Fact 2. We are paralyzed while we dream. Have you ever had that terrifying experience in a dream where you desperately need to run, to scream, to fight, but your body feels like it's made of lead? This dream-induced paralysis is unsettling, but it's actually a crucial safety feature hardwired into our biology. During REM sleep, the stage where most of our vivid dreaming occurs, the brainstem sends out signals that effectively switch off our voluntary muscles. This state is called REM atonia. It's a temporary paralysis of your arms, legs, and torso, preventing you from physically acting out the often bizarre and dramatic scenarios playing out in your mind. Imagine the chaos if this mechanism didn't exist. A dream about scoring a winning goal could result in you kicking your partner, or a nightmare about falling could have you leaping out of bed. While this paralysis is normal during sleep, the lines can sometimes blur. Sleep paralysis, a condition where this muscular freeze continues for a few moments after you've woken up, can be a frightening experience. You are conscious and aware of your surroundings, but unable to move or speak, sometimes accompanied by hallucinations. It's a stark reminder of the powerful, and sometimes imperfect, barrier our brain erects between our dream world and our waking reality. Fact 3. Dreams have inspired major scientific discoveries and works of art. The dream world is not just a place of fantasy and escape. For some of history's greatest minds, it has been a workshop for genius. Many groundbreaking ideas have been born not in a brightly lit laboratory, but in the quiet, surreal theater of a dream. Take, for example, the structure of the benzene molecule, a foundational concept in organic chemistry. The chemist Auguste K. Coulet struggled for years to understand its circular shape until he dreamed of a snake seizing its own tail, an ancient symbol called the Ouroboros. He awoke with the realization that the benzene molecule must be a closed ring. Similarly, the invention of the sewing machine was spurred by a nightmare. Elias Howe dreamed he was captured by cannibals who were dancing around him with spears that had holes near the tips. Upon waking, he realized that a sewing machine needle needed the hole at its point, not at the base, a breakthrough that had eluded him for ages. Even art has been shaped by dreams. Paul McCartney famously claimed the melody for the Beatles' classic song Yesterday came to him fully formed in a dream. He was so convinced he had subconsciously plagiarized it that he spent weeks playing it for people to see if they recognized it. They didn't. The dream world, it seems, is a silent collaborator in human innovation, a place where our minds are free to make connections our conscious thoughts are too rigid to see. Fact 4. Animals almost certainly dream. If you've ever watched a sleeping dog twitch its paws, whine softly, or move its eyes rapidly behind its closed lids, you've likely witnessed an animal dreaming. While we can't ask them about the contents of their dreams, the physiological evidence is compelling. Scientists have observed that most mammals, and even some birds and reptiles, experience a REM sleep stage, just like humans. During this stage, their brainwave patterns are remarkably similar to our own dreaming brainwaves, active and seemingly processing experiences. Studies on rats at MIT have provided even more specific insights. Researchers monitored the brain activity of rats, first as they ran through a maze, and then later while they were in REM sleep. They discovered that the pattern of neuron firings in the sleeping rats' brains was an exact replica of the pattern recorded while they were awake and navigating the maze. In essence, the rats were rerunning the maze in their minds, likely consolidating their memory of the layout. This suggests that animal dreams, much like our own, are probably a way of processing the events of their day. Your dog isn't just twitching, it's likely chasing a squirrel through the vast, open fields of its own subconscious mind. Fact 5. You can control your dreams. For most of us, dreams are like movies in which we are unwilling actors, carried along by a script we have no control over. But what if you could become the director? This is the core idea behind lucid dreaming, the state of being aware that you are dreaming while the dream is still happening. For an experienced lucid dreamer, the moment of realization, aha, this is a dream, is a gateway to incredible freedom. They can choose to fly over cities, conjure objects out of thin air, or face down a nightmare monster knowing it can't harm them. Gaining this awareness isn't mystical, it's a skill that can be trained. Techniques often involve reality testing during waking hours, such as frequently asking yourself, "Am I dreaming?" and performing a small test, like trying to push your finger through your palm. The habit can carry over into your dreams, triggering lucidity. Other methods involve waking up briefly after a few hours of sleep and then returning to bed with a strong intention to recognize the dream state. While it requires patience and practice, lucid dreaming offers a fascinating bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. It transforms the dreamscape from a passive experience into an interactive playground, a virtual reality simulator created by your own brain, where the only limits are those of your imagination. Fact 6. Nightmares may actually be good for you. No one enjoys the heart-pounding terror of a nightmare. Waking up in a cold sweat with the lingering feeling of dread is an unwelcome disruption to a peaceful night's rest. But what if these frightening experiences served a purpose beyond just scaring us? A growing body of research suggests that nightmares are not just a glitch in our sleep system, but a form of emotional rehearsal. This threat simulation theory proposes that our brains use the safe, simulated environment of a dream to practice and prepare for potential dangers in our waking lives. By creating and navigating scary scenarios, being chased, falling, or facing a threat, our minds are essentially running a fire drill. This allows our fear response circuits to be tested and fine-tuned without any real-world risk. Scientists at the University of Geneva studied the brain activity of people who experienced nightmares and found that areas of the brain responsible for controlling fear and emotion were more efficient in nightmare sufferers when they were later shown frightening images while awake. It's as if the nightmare had already prepared them, giving their emotional responses a workout. So, while they are deeply unpleasant in the moment, nightmares could be your brain's own primal training ground, making you more resilient and better equipped to handle stress and fear when you are awake. Fact 7. The dreams of blind people are unique. What does a person who has never seen the world with their eyes see when they dream? The answer depends on when they lost their sight. People who become blind later in life often continue to experience visual imagery in their dreams for years, sometimes for the rest of their lives, drawing from the vast library of images stored in their memory. Their dreams might be filled with the faces of loved ones or the familiar sight of their childhood home. However, for those who have been blind since birth, the dreamscape is a non-visual world, yet it is just as rich and complex. Instead of sights, their dreams are constructed from their other senses: sound, touch, taste, and smell. They might dream of the texture of a cat's fur, the specific sound of a friend's laughter, the smell of rain on hot pavement, or the complex emotional tone of a conversation. Research has also shown that people who are congenitally blind tend to experience a higher proportion of physical sensations and even aggression in their nightmares compared to sighted individuals. Their minds build worlds as vivid and immersive as any visual dream, proving that sight is not a prerequisite for the brain's incredible ability to simulate reality. It's a powerful testament to the fact that dreaming is a full-body, multisensory experience, crafted from whatever raw material our life gives us. Fact 8. Your brain can incorporate real-world stimuli into your dreams. Have you ever been dreaming of a ringing telephone, only to wake up and realize your morning alarm is going off? Or perhaps a dream of being desperately thirsty was your brain's way of telling you that you were dehydrated in your sleep. This phenomenon, known as dream incorporation, is the brain's remarkable ability to weave external, real-world stimuli into the fabric of a dream's narrative. Your sleeping brain is not completely shut off from the world. It's still processing sensory information on a low level. When a sound, a smell, or a physical sensation from your environment is detected, the dreaming mind can act like a masterful storyteller, improvising to make that stimulus a part of the ongoing story. A 2008 study in Germany demonstrated this beautifully by exposing sleeping participants to the scent of rotten eggs or roses. Those who smelled roses reported dreams with a more positive emotional tone, while the smell of rotten eggs led to more negative dream content. This doesn't mean the dream was about roses. Rather, the pleasant smell nudged the emotional direction of the dream. This ability to integrate the outside world showcases the brain's incredible flexibility, blurring the lines between what is real and what is imagined, and turning an unexpected noise or a change in temperature into an integral plot point in your nightly adventure. Fact 9. You forget 95% of your dreams within minutes of waking. It can be a frustrating experience. You wake up with a distinct feeling that you've just returned from an epic, vivid, and profoundly important journey. You can almost taste the details, the plot twists, the powerful emotions. But as you try to grasp them, they vanish like smoke, leaving you with only a faint, lingering echo of the experience. This rapid dream amnesia is a universal human phenomenon. Within just 5 minutes of waking, the average person has forgotten 50% of their dream content. Within 10 minutes, that number jumps to 90 to 95%. The primary reason for this is believed to be a shift in our brain's chemistry. During REM sleep, our brains are in a state perfect for creating wild, associative narratives, but the neurochemical environment is not conducive to encoding those experiences into long-term memory. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logical ordering and memory, is less active. When you wake up, your brain systems shift gears, prioritizing engagement with the real world. To hold on to a dream, you must make a conscious effort to recall it in the first few seconds of wakefulness, re-encoding it using your waking memory systems. Keeping a dream journal by your bed is the most effective way to combat this, acting as a net to catch those fleeting stories before they dissolve back into the subconscious sea from which they came. Fact 10. Recurring dreams often have a deeper meaning. Some dreams are one-time only cinematic productions, but others are more like reruns, playing the same scenario over and over again, sometimes for years. These recurring dreams, whether it's being unprepared for an exam, finding yourself naked in public, or being chased, are believed by many psychologists to be one of the most significant types of dreams. They are not random. Instead, they are often a direct signal from your subconscious that there is an unresolved conflict, a persistent stressor, or an unmet need in your waking life that requires your attention. The dream will continue to repeat itself, like a persistent messenger knocking on your door, until the underlying issue is acknowledged and addressed. For example, the classic unprepared for a test dream, even in adults long out of school, often points to feelings of being judged or anxiety about a current challenge at work or in a relationship. The dream of being chased may signify that you are avoiding a confrontation or a difficult emotion. By examining the theme and the feelings associated with a recurring dream, you can gain valuable insight into your own emotional landscape. Once you identify and begin to work on the real-life problem that the dream is symbolizing, the dream itself will often change, evolve, or simply disappear, its mission finally complete. Fact 11. Men and women tend to dream differently. While the act of dreaming is a universal human experience, the specific content of those dreams can vary, and one of the most consistent dividing lines appears to be gender. Numerous studies conducted over several decades have revealed fascinating patterns in the themes, characters, and emotions that populate the dreams of men and women. Men's dreams, on average, tend to feature more aggression, both physical and verbal. They are more likely to dream about conflict, competition, and achieving success. The characters in men's dreams are also predominantly male. In fact, a man will typically dream about other men twice as often as he dreams about women. On the other hand, women's dreams often contain a more balanced cast of male and female characters. Their dreams tend to be longer, more conversational, and more focused on social interactions, relationships, and emotional connections. Women are also more likely to report dreams that take place indoors and involve themes of clothing or personal appearance. Furthermore, women tend to experience a wider array of emotions in their dreams and are more likely to have nightmares related to interpersonal conflicts or the loss of a loved one. These differences are not absolute, of course, but they suggest that our dreams are a powerful reflection of our waking social roles, concerns, and emotional processing styles, subtly shaped by the different ways we navigate the world. Fact 12. Not everyone dreams in full color. Imagine your dreams not as a vibrant film, but as a classic black and white movie. For a significant portion of the population, this is their reality. While it's difficult to get a precise number, studies suggest that around 12% of people dream exclusively in black and white. Interestingly, this phenomenon seems to be generational. Research has found that in the first half of the 20th century, before the widespread adoption of color television, reports of black and white dreams were much more common. As color media became the norm, the percentage of people dreaming in color steadily increased. This suggests a fascinating link between the media we consume and the way our brains construct our dream worlds. Our minds appear to use the visual language we are most familiar with as a template for our own internal productions. For those who grew up watching monochrome films and television, that became their brain's default setting for dreams. Today, older individuals are far more likely to report black and white dreams than younger generations who have been immersed in color media since birth. So, if you are one of the people who dreams in shades of gray, you may be experiencing a fascinating echo of a bygone media era, a personal cinema shaped by the technology of the past. Fact 13. Some dreams seem to predict the future. This is perhaps one of the most mysterious and debated aspects of dreaming. The precognitive dream, a dream that appears to foretell a future event. Throughout history, there are countless anecdotal accounts of such occurrences. Abraham Lincoln famously told his wife about a dream he had of his own assassination just days before it happened. Many survivors of the Titanic disaster later claimed to have had nightmares about the ship sinking weeks before its maiden voyage. So, are our dreaming minds capable of peering through the veil of time? The scientific community remains highly skeptical, offering several logical explanations. One is simple coincidence. With billions of people dreaming every night, it is statistically inevitable that some dreams will happen to match up with future events. Another explanation is selective memory, where we forget the thousands of dreams that don't come true but remember the one that coincidentally does, giving it a false sense of significance. Finally, our subconscious minds are powerful pattern recognition machines. A dream that seems to predict a future event, like a friend getting sick, might simply be your brain picking up on subtle, subconscious cues in their behavior or appearance that your conscious mind missed. While science has yet to find any proof of genuine precognition, the experience remains a powerful and personal one for many, leaving a tantalizing question mark over the true capabilities of the sleeping mind. Fact 14. You usually can't read, write, or tell time in dreams. The world of dreams can be incredibly realistic, but there are certain rules of waking life that simply don't apply. Two of the most common inconsistencies are the inability to read text or accurately tell the time on a clock. You might dream that you are looking at a book, a sign, or a watch, but if you try to focus on the details, they often become nonsensical, the letters jumbling together or the numbers on the clock face shifting and changing each time you look away and look back. This happens because the specific areas of the brain responsible for the logical processing of language and numbers are significantly less active during REM sleep. Dreaming is largely driven by the more primitive, emotional, and visual parts of the brain, like the limbic system and the visual cortex. The higher-order, rational centers in our prefrontal cortex, which we use to interpret complex symbols like words and numbers, are partially offline. This is why dream narratives can be so bizarre and disjointed. Your brain is a master at creating visual scenes and emotional experiences, but the fine-tuned tools needed for logical interpretation are temporarily put away. This very inconsistency is one of the most reliable techniques used by lucid dreamers to become aware that they are dreaming. A quick glance at a clock or a book can be the reality check that unlocks the door to a controllable dream world. Fact 15. Your dreams are more negative than positive. Despite the occasional blissful dream of flying or achieving a lifelong goal, the overall emotional landscape of our dreams tends to have a negative bias. When researchers have systematically collected thousands of dream reports from people, a clear pattern emerges. Emotions like fear, anxiety, anger, and sadness are reported far more frequently than joy, happiness, or excitement. This isn't because we lead miserable lives, but because of a primary function of dreaming, emotional regulation. Our dreaming minds seem to be a safe space to process the difficult and stressful experiences from our waking hours. It's a mental and emotional digestive system, breaking down our daily anxieties and fears into manageable pieces. This idea is supported by what neuroscientists call the limbic hotspot of REM sleep, where brain regions like the amygdala, which processes fear and threat, are highly active. This doesn't mean all dreams are nightmares. Most negative dreams are low-level anxieties, worrying about being late, having an awkward social encounter, or feeling lost. By confronting these minor stressors in the low-stakes environment of a dream, our brains help us to achieve emotional balance and prepare us to face the challenges of a new day with a calmer, more regulated mind. Fact 16. Dreams are crucial for your memory. While we often think of sleep as a time of rest, our brains are incredibly busy, and one of their most important jobs is acting as a sophisticated filing system for our memories. Dreams play a starring role in this nightly process, which is known as memory consolidation. Throughout the day, we are bombarded with an enormous amount of information and experiences. It's not feasible or efficient for our brains to store every single detail. So, during sleep, and particularly during the REM dream stage, the brain gets to work sorting through the day's events. It decides what is important enough to be moved into long-term storage and what can be discarded. Think of it as a librarian organizing books. Some are placed on the permanent shelves, while others are sent to be recycled. This process is not just about storing facts, it's about making connections. The dream state, with its bizarre and hyper-associative nature, allows the brain to link new memories with older ones, integrating new knowledge into our existing understanding of the world. This is why a good night's sleep is so critical after learning a new skill or studying for an exam. The dream is not just a random byproduct of sleep. It is a fundamental part of the mechanism that helps us learn, remember, and make sense of our lives. Fact 17. Sleepwalking is not acting out a dream. The image of a sleepwalker with arms outstretched, acting out the narrative of a vivid dream, is a classic trope in movies and cartoons. However, the reality is that these two phenomena, sleepwalking and dreaming, happen at entirely different stages of sleep and are mutually exclusive. Vivid dreaming occurs during REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, a time when the body is in a state of temporary paralysis called atonia, which, as we've learned, prevents you from physically acting out your dreams. Sleepwalking, on the other hand, is a type of parasomnia that occurs during the deepest stages of non-REM, NREM, sleep, typically in the first third of the night. During these deep sleep stages, the body is not paralyzed, but the mind is not conscious or creating complex narratives in the way it does during REM. A sleepwalker's brain is caught in a strange hybrid state, partially awake enough to perform complex actions like walking, talking, or even preparing food, but still asleep enough to have no conscious awareness or memory of the event afterward. So, a sleepwalker isn't chasing a monster from a nightmare. They are moving around in a state of deep, dreamless sleep. This is also why it's a myth that you should never wake a sleepwalker. While it can leave them confused and disoriented, it's often more dangerous not to gently guide them back to bed. Fact 18. That falling sensation has a name. Just as you're drifting off to sleep, cozy and relaxed, you're suddenly jolted awake by the terrifying sensation that you are falling from a great height, your body twitching violently in response. This common and unsettling experience is not actually a dream, but an involuntary muscle spasm called a hypnagogic jerk. It occurs during the hypnagogic state, the transitional period between wakefulness and sleep. As you begin to fall asleep, your breathing slows, your body temperature drops, and your muscles relax. Scientists believe that the brain sometimes misinterprets this state of extreme relaxation as a sign that you are genuinely, physically falling. In a split-second panic, the The brain sends out a powerful signal to your arms and legs to catch yourself, resulting in the sudden jerk that startles you awake. One evolutionary theory suggests this could be a holdover from our primate ancestors, for whom falling out of a tree during sleep was a real danger. The reflex would have helped them quickly readjust their sleeping position to a safer one. While the exact cause is still debated, with stress, caffeine, and exhaustion being likely contributors, this phenomenon is a fascinating glimpse into the miscommunications that can occur between the waking and sleeping mind, a primal alarm system still active in our modern brains. Fact 19. Freud and Jung had wildly different ideas about dreams. In the early 20th century, two pioneers of psychology, Sigmund Freud and his one-time protege Carl Jung, revolutionized the study of dreams, but they came to vastly different conclusions about their meaning. Freud, in his seminal work The Interpretation of Dreams, argued that dreams are a form of wish fulfillment. He believed that dreams are disguised, symbolic language used by our unconscious mind to express repressed desires, forbidden thoughts, and unresolved childhood conflicts that are too threatening for our conscious mind to handle. For Freud, every dream was a coded message from the dreamer's personal, hidden self, and its true meaning could be deciphered by analyzing its symbols. Carl Jung, however, took a broader view. While he agreed that dreams were messages from the unconscious, he didn't believe they were merely hiding repressed wishes. Jung proposed that dreams are a natural and creative expression of the whole self, a tool for communication and problem-solving. He believed dreams compensate for the parts of our personality we neglect in our waking lives and guide us toward wholeness. Most importantly, Jung introduced the idea of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of shared, universal symbols and archetypes inherited by all humanity. For Jung, a dream about a snake wasn't just a personal symbol. It tapped into a universal archetype of transformation, danger, and healing that has existed for millennia. Fact 20. It is possible to have a dream within a dream. The mind-bending concept of a dream within a dream, famously visualized in the movie Inception, is not just a work of fiction. It is a real, albeit rare, psychological phenomenon. Known as a false awakening, this experience occurs when you dream that you have woken up. The dream is often incredibly mundane and realistic. You might dream of turning off your alarm, getting out of bed, and starting your morning routine. Everything feels completely normal, which makes the eventual, true awakening all the more disorienting. A dream within a dream is a more complex version of this, where within that false awakening dream, you fall asleep and begin another, separate dream. This layering of dream states can create a profound sense of confusion about what is real. While the exact cause isn't fully understood, it is thought to be related to the brain's expectations. Our minds are so accustomed to the cycle of sleeping and waking that they can begin to simulate the process. It's as if one part of your brain has decided it's time to wake up, but the part responsible for generating dreams hasn't received the message yet, so it simply creates a dream about waking up. It's a fascinating glitch in our perception of reality, demonstrating the brain's astonishing power to create utterly convincing simulations of the world, even simulations of leaving the simulation itself. Fact 21. Pregnancy profoundly changes dreams. Pregnancy is a time of immense physical and hormonal change, and this transformation extends deep into the subconscious world of dreams. Many women report that their dreams during pregnancy become extraordinarily vivid, frequent, and are remembered with crystal clarity. This is due to a perfect storm of factors. Surging hormones, particularly progesterone, play a significant role in altering the sleep cycle. Furthermore, the physical discomforts and frequent need to wake up during the night mean that pregnant women are often jolted out of REM sleep, the stage where dreams are most intense. This abrupt awakening makes it much easier to recall the details of the dream that was just in progress. The content of these dreams also tends to shift in predictable ways. In the first trimester, dreams often feature symbols of fertility and nature, such as gardens, water, and fruit. As the pregnancy progresses into the second and third trimesters, the dreams become more focused on the baby itself, though often in symbolic ways. It's common to dream of small animals, representing the cute but vulnerable infant. Many expectant mothers also have anxiety dreams about childbirth or being a parent, which psychologists see as a healthy way for the subconscious mind to confront and process the fears and enormous responsibilities that lie ahead. It's a mental rehearsal for one of life's biggest events. Fact 22. Your body physically reacts to your dreams. Even though you are lying still in bed, the events of your dream world can cause very real and powerful reactions in your physical body. Your dreaming mind is so convincing that your body's autonomic nervous system, which controls functions like heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure, behaves as if the dream scenarios are actually happening. If you are having a nightmare where you are being chased, your heart will begin to pound, your breathing will become shallow and rapid, and your blood pressure will spike. You might even begin to sweat. Conversely, a peaceful, blissful dream can cause your body to relax further, with your heart rate and breathing slowing down. These reactions are most pronounced during REM sleep. Scientists monitoring sleeping subjects have documented these dramatic physiological shifts, which mirror the emotional content of the dream reports given by the subjects upon waking. This connection is also the reason why people with certain heart conditions are sometimes at a higher risk during the early morning hours, a time when REM sleep is at its longest and most intense, and the potential for a stressful dream to put a strain on the cardiovascular system is highest. It's a stark reminder that the barrier between mind and body is incredibly thin, and in the world of dreams, a fictional threat can trigger a very real physical response. Fact 23. Dreams can help you solve problems. Have you ever gone to bed completely stumped by a difficult problem, only to wake up with a clear solution in your mind? This isn't just a coincidence. It's a testament to the incredible problem-solving power of the dreaming brain. When we are awake, our thinking is often rigid and logical, bound by rules and established patterns. We tend to approach problems head-on, often getting stuck in a single way of thinking. During REM sleep, however, the brain's neurochemistry changes. The logical, linear thinking parts of the prefrontal cortex are less active, while the more associative, creative, and emotional centers are firing wildly. This allows the brain to make bizarre and novel connections between ideas that it would never consider in a waking state. It's like a brainstorming session with no rules. The dream state deconstructs a problem into its component parts and then reassembles them in new and unexpected ways, leading to moments of genuine insight. This process, known as hypnagogic cognition, is a powerful tool for creativity. It doesn't just apply to scientific or mathematical problems. It can provide solutions to personal dilemmas, creative blocks, and interpersonal conflicts. By incubating a problem, thinking about it intensely before sleep, you can prime your dreaming mind to go to work on it, using its unique brand of abstract logic to find an answer that was hidden from your waking self. Fact 24. Sleep deprivation leads to REM rebound. The need to dream is a fundamental biological drive, just like the need for deep sleep. If you deprive your brain of its dreaming time, it doesn't just forget about it, it tries to catch up. This phenomenon is known as REM rebound. When you finally get a full night's sleep after a period of sleep deprivation, whether from pulling an all-nighter or several nights of poor rest, your brain will often plunge into REM sleep much faster than usual and spend a significantly longer percentage of the night in that stage. It's the brain's way of compensating for the lost dream time. This rebound effect can have a profound impact on the nature of your dreams. They often become intensely vivid, bizarre, and emotionally charged. For some people, this can be a creatively inspiring experience, but for many, it can lead to disturbing and unsettling nightmares. This is because the brain is essentially trying to cram a huge amount of emotional and cognitive processing into a condensed period. Students after finals week, or anyone catching up on rest after a stressful period, will often report these powerful, mover-like dreams. It's a clear indication that dreaming is not a luxury but a necessary biological process that the brain will fight to preserve. Fact 25. The same dream character can appear for years. In the vast and ever-shifting cast of characters that populate our dreams, some are fleeting strangers, while others become familiar faces, returning again and again over months, years, or even a lifetime. These recurring dream characters can be comforting, menacing, or mysterious, but their persistence suggests they hold a special significance. In Jungian psychology, these figures are often interpreted as archetypes, representations of different parts of our own psyche. A recurring wise old man or woman, for example, might be a spirit guide or dream helper, symbolizing our own inner wisdom and intuition, offering guidance during a period of uncertainty. A persistent, menacing figure who chases or criticizes us could represent our shadow self, the parts of our personality that we repress or deny, such as our fears, insecurities, or unresolved anger. These characters don't have to be human. They can be animals or mythical creatures that embody certain qualities. The key to understanding them is to observe their role and our emotional reaction to them. They are not random apparitions. They are messengers from our subconscious, personifying an inner conflict, a hidden strength, or a part of ourselves that is calling out for attention and integration into our conscious lives. Fact 26. The emotions of a dream can linger all day. Have you ever woken up from a dream feeling inexplicably sad, angry, or joyful, and found that the emotion sticks with you for hours, coloring your entire day? This phenomenon is sometimes called a dream hangover or emotional inertia, and it's a powerful demonstration of how deeply our dream life can influence our waking reality. Our brains don't always draw a firm line between the emotions we feel in a dream and the emotions we feel when we're awake. When you experience a powerful emotion like grief or fear in a dream, your brain releases the same neurochemicals that it would if the event were actually happening. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, is highly active during REM sleep, generating these feelings with incredible intensity. When you wake up, the narrative of the dream might fade quickly, but the chemical residue of the emotion can remain in your system. You might not remember the details of the argument you had in a dream, but the feeling of anger and frustration lingers. Similarly, a wonderful dream about a loved one can leave you with a warm, happy glow that lasts all morning. This is a reminder that our emotional lives are continuous, flowing seamlessly between our sleeping and waking states. The feelings generated in the secret theater of the mind are real, and they don't always end when the curtain falls. Fact 27. Ancient civilizations saw dreams as divine messages. In our modern world, we often view dreams through a scientific or psychological lens. But for ancient civilizations, dreams were not a product of the brain. They were a sacred bridge to the divine. In ancient Egypt, dreams were considered messages from the gods, offering prophecies, warnings, and guidance. The Egyptians had a book called the Dream Book, a hieratic papyrus that is one of the oldest dream interpretation guides in existence, listing various dream scenarios and their supposed meanings. They even believed that trained dream interpreters could help decipher these divine communications. Similarly, in ancient Greece and Rome, dreams held immense power. People would embark on journeys to special dream temples, known as Asclepions, dedicated to Asclepius, the god of healing. There, they would sleep in a sacred chamber, a practice called incubation, hoping to receive a dream in which the god would reveal a cure for their ailments. Important political and military decisions were often based on the dreams of kings and generals. A dream was not something to be dismissed. It was a direct and vital communication from a higher power, a map for the future and a diagnostic tool for the present, holding the same weight as any event in the waking world. Fact 28. You will have over 100,000 dreams in a lifetime. While you may only remember a handful of dreams from any given week, the sheer volume of dreams your brain produces is staggering. The average person has between 4 to 6 separate dream periods every single night. Let's do the math. If we take a conservative average of 4 dreams per night, that adds up to 1,460 dreams per year. Now, if you multiply that over the course of an average lifespan of, say, 75 years, you arrive at a breathtaking total of 109,500 dreams. Over 100,000 unique, private films, scripted, directed, and produced by your own mind. Each one is a complex world, complete with characters, settings, plots, and powerful emotions. This incredible output highlights just how fundamental dreaming is to our nightly brain function. Even if the vast majority of these narratives are forgotten the moment we wake up, the brain is still doing the work, running these simulations and processing these stories. It's a humbling thought. For a significant portion of your life, roughly 1/3 of which is spent asleep, you are a prolific creator and a solitary audience member for a library of over 100,000 cinematic productions, each one a fleeting glimpse into the boundless creativity of your own subconscious. Fact 29. The teeth falling out dream is a universal experience. Of all the unsettling scenarios our minds can conjure, the dream of one's teeth falling out is one of the most common and universally disturbing. People across different cultures and throughout history have reported this very specific, anxiety-inducing dream. So why is it so widespread? While dream interpretation is not an exact science, psychologists and dream analysts have several compelling theories. One of the most common interpretations links this dream to feelings of stress, anxiety, and a lack of control in one's waking life. Your teeth are symbols of power, confidence, and your ability to bite into life. Losing them in a dream could reflect feelings of helplessness or a fear of losing face in a challenging situation. Another popular theory connects it to communication. Your mouth and teeth are crucial for speaking clearly, so a dream about them crumbling or falling out might symbolize difficulty expressing yourself, a fear of saying the wrong thing, or a feeling that you aren't being heard. Some interpretations are more literal, suggesting it could be linked to financial worries, losing something of value, or even actual dental grinding at night. Whatever the specific cause, this powerful dream taps into a deep-seated vulnerability, a visceral fear of losing control and stability that resonates with people everywhere. Fact 30. Some people claim to share dreams with others. Venturing into the more paranormal side of dreaming, we find the fascinating and unproven concept of mutual dreaming or dream telepathy. This is the experience where two or more people claim to have had the same dream on the same night, sometimes even interacting with each other within the dream world. Accounts of this phenomenon are purely anecdotal and exist far outside the realm of mainstream science, but they are surprisingly common. A husband and wife might wake up and describe navigating the same bizarre, imaginary landscape. Two sisters living in different cities might call each other in the morning, shocked to learn they both dreamed of their childhood home, walking through the same rooms and noticing the same details. Skeptics offer logical explanations, such as coincidence or the fact that people who are close and share many life experiences are likely to have similar dream themes and symbols. They might also influence each other's memory of the dream when they discuss it afterward, a process known as memory convergence. Despite the lack of scientific evidence, those who have had the experience often describe it as profound and undeniable. It raises tantalizing questions about the nature of consciousness and whether our minds, in the unbound state of a dream, are capable of connections that our waking world deems impossible. Fact 31. Quitting smoking can unleash intense dreams. For those trying to quit smoking, the challenges are often centered on waking life, cravings, irritability, and restlessness. However, one of the most unexpected and powerful side effects occurs after they fall asleep. Many former smokers report experiencing incredibly vivid, intense, and often unsettlingly realistic dreams, particularly in the first few weeks after quitting. This phenomenon is a direct result of the brain readjusting to a life without nicotine. Nicotine is a powerful stimulant that has a significant effect on our sleep architecture, particularly by suppressing the REM sleep stage. When a person smokes regularly, their brain gets less REM sleep than it naturally needs. Once they quit, the brain goes into overdrive to compensate, a process similar to the REM rebound experienced after sleep deprivation. The brain dives into longer and deeper periods of REM sleep, leading to a surge in dream activity. Because nicotine also affects the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and acetylcholine, which are involved in memory and emotion, its absence can make the content of these rebound dreams especially bizarre and emotionally charged. It's common for these dreams to involve themes of smoking, either giving in to temptation or defiantly refusing a cigarette, as the brain psychologically processes the addiction and withdrawal. It's a sign of the brain healing itself, a wild, cinematic journey on the road to recovery. Fact 32. You can actively try to shape your dreams. While the content of our dreams often feels random and chaotic, it is possible to exert a degree of influence over them before you even fall asleep. This practice is known as dream incubation, and it involves setting a clear intention to dream about a specific topic, question, or problem. It's a way of priming your subconscious mind, giving it a gentle nudge in a desired direction. The practice has ancient roots, echoing the rituals of the Greeks who slept in temples to receive divine dreams. The modern, psychological approach is more direct. The technique is simple but requires focus. Before going to bed, you should spend some time, anywhere from a few minutes to half an hour, concentrating on the issue you want to dream about. You can write it down in a journal, meditate on it, or visualize it clearly in your mind. The key is to distill your intention into a single, concise phrase, such as, "I want to understand my feelings about this decision," or "I want a creative solution to this problem." You then repeat this phrase to yourself like a mantra as you drift off to sleep. While it doesn't guarantee a specific outcome, this focused intention significantly increases the likelihood that your subsequent dreams will be thematically related to your chosen topic, offering insights that your waking mind might have overlooked. Fact 33. True physical pain is very rare in dreams. Our dreams can be terrifying, stressful, and emotionally devastating, but they rarely involve the actual sensation of physical pain. You might dream of being shot, stabbed, or falling from a great height, and you will certainly experience the fear, panic, and shock associated with such an event. However, your brain typically does not simulate the raw, physical agony that would accompany it in real life. The reason for this is not fully understood, but it's likely a form of psychological self-preservation. Even in its unbound state, the dreaming mind may have a built-in inhibitor that prevents it from creating sensations that are too overwhelming or traumatic. In the rare instances where people do report feeling pain in a dream, it is often a reflection of a real, physical stimulus from the outside world. For example, a person with arthritis might dream of their joints aching, or someone sleeping in an awkward position might dream of being crushed. The brain incorporates the real physical sensation into the dream narrative. So, if you ever find yourself in a dream where you are being injured, take note of the emotions. The fear and the adrenaline are the main event. The absence of true pain is another subtle clue that separates the dream world from waking reality. Fact 34. Déjà vu could be the echo of a forgotten dream. Déjà vu, that strange, fleeting feeling that you have lived a specific moment before, is one of the most common and mystifying psychological experiences. While neuroscience offers several explanations related to minor glitches in our brain's memory systems, another compelling theory links it to the world of dreams. We know that we forget the vast majority of our dreams within minutes of waking. This theory suggests that the feeling of déjà vu occurs when a new experience in our waking life closely matches the details, setting, or emotional tone of a dream that we have forgotten. The new situation triggers a faint, implicit memory of the dream, but because we have no conscious recollection of it, our brain can't place the source of the familiarity. The result is an eerie feeling of having been here before without any logical reason. For instance, you might walk into a room for the first time on a trip abroad but be struck by a powerful sense of déjà vu. It's possible that weeks earlier, you had a forgotten dream that took place in a room with similar lighting, furniture, or a similar feeling of quiet contemplation. The connection isn't supernatural. It's a simple, yet profound, case of your waking life rhyming with the forgotten poetry of your sleeping mind. Fact 35. Your earliest memory might actually be a dream. Ask someone about their very first childhood memory, and they might describe a blurry, fragmented scene from when they were 2 or 3 years old, looking up from a crib, a specific toy, or a parent's smiling face. For a long time, these were accepted as genuine, albeit faint, memories. However, many psychologists now believe that these earliest memories might not be memories of real events at all, but rather memories of early dreams. The reasoning behind this is fascinating. The part of the brain responsible for forming coherent, long-term memories of life events, the hippocampus, is not fully mature in infants and toddlers. This is why most people have infantile amnesia, a natural inability to recall events from the first few years of life. However, the parts of the brain that generate the powerful visual and emotional content of dreams are active from a very early age. An infant's brain does not yet have a firm grasp on the distinction between dream and reality. Therefore, a particularly vivid and emotionally resonant dream from that period could have been encoded in the mind as if it were a real event. Over time, as we try to piece together the story of our earliest years, these powerful dream memories can present themselves as our first glimpses of waking life. Fact 36. Fevers can trigger bizarre, intense dreams. Anyone who has been sick with a high fever knows that the experience doesn't end when you close your eyes. In fact, it often becomes stranger. Fevers have a profound and disruptive effect on our dream life, giving rise to what are commonly known as fever dreams. These are not your typical dreams. They are often characterized by being intensely bizarre, surreal, and emotionally unsettling. The narratives are frequently illogical and fragmented, featuring strange spatial distortions, melting walls, or a feeling of impending doom. The reason for this lies in how heat affects the brain. Our brain's functions are highly sensitive to temperature. When your body temperature rises significantly, it can disrupt the normal processes of your brain's cognitive and emotional centers. This overheating interferes with the usual smooth operation of REM sleep, causing the brain to generate chaotic and often frightening imagery. The content of these dreams is also frequently negative and focused on themes of threat, danger, and discomfort, likely a direct reflection of the physical misery the body is experiencing. A fever dream is essentially the product of a brain under duress, its normal storytelling ability warped by the physiological stress of illness. It's a powerful reminder of the delicate biological balance required for the mind to function normally, both in waking and in sleep. Fact 37. Repetitive tasks can invade your dreams. Have you ever spent a long day working on a puzzle, playing a video game, or even just scrolling through social media, only to find that you're still doing it in your sleep? This phenomenon is known as the Tetris effect, named after the classic tile-matching video game whose players frequently reported dreaming of falling blocks. It's a form of hypnagogic imagery that occurs when you engage in a novel and repetitive activity for an extended period. Your brain, in its effort to learn and master the new pattern, continues to process it even after you've stopped. When you fall asleep, this cognitive residue spills over into your dreams. The dreams are often not complex narratives, but rather a direct replay of the activity's core mechanics: the falling blocks, the scrolling feed, the pieces of the puzzle. This doesn't just happen with games. Sailors have reported dreaming of the gentle rocking of the waves after their first few days at sea, and new cashiers might dream of endless streams of items on a conveyor belt. The Tetris effect is a fascinating window into how our brains learn and consolidate new procedural memories. It shows that the mind doesn't simply switch off when we sleep, but continues to work, practice, and encode the patterns of our waking lives. Fact 38. Dreams of the deceased are a normal part of grief. Losing a loved one is one of the most painful human experiences, and the grieving process continues long after our eyes are closed. For many bereaved people, dreams become a vital, and sometimes the only, space where they can connect with the person they have lost. These visitation dreams are incredibly common and can be profoundly impactful. Unlike a typical dream, which is often chaotic and symbolic, these dreams are frequently reported as being intensely realistic, vivid, and peaceful. In the dream, the deceased person often appears healthy and vibrant, not as they were when they were sick. They typically offer words of comfort, reassurance, or forgiveness, communicating a sense of well-being and letting the dreamer know that they are okay. Psychologically, these dreams are seen as a healthy and essential part of the grieving process. They provide a sense of continuing connection and can help the dreamer move toward acceptance and closure. They are not necessarily a paranormal event, but rather the mind's powerful way of healing itself. The dream provides a safe and comforting space to process the loss, to say the things left unsaid, and to feel the presence of a loved one more time, offering solace when it is needed most. Fact 39. Your reflection in a dream is rarely accurate. Mirrors are a staple of our waking lives, a tool for checking our appearance and confirming our identity. In the world of dreams, however, they become unreliable and often unsettling objects. If you find yourself looking into a mirror in a dream, you will rarely see a clear and accurate reflection of yourself. More often than not, the image will be blurry, distorted, aged, or it might even be the face of a complete stranger. This happens for a similar reason that you can't read text in a dream. The part of your brain responsible for self-awareness and stable identity recognition, the prefrontal cortex, is partially deactivated. Your dreaming mind struggles to construct and maintain a consistent self-image. This instability of identity is a hallmark of the dream state. Because of this, mirrors have become a powerful tool for those who practice lucid dreaming. Attempting to look at your reflection can serve as an effective reality check. If the face looking back at you is strange or warped, it's a strong signal that you are, in fact, dreaming. The dream mirror acts as a portal, not for seeing your physical self, but for seeing the fluid and ever-changing nature of your own identity within the subconscious mind. Fact 40. Your brain uses a different chemical cocktail when you dream. The strange, illogical, and highly emotional nature of dreams is not just a matter of psychology, it's a matter of chemistry. When you enter REM sleep, the neurochemical balance in your brain shifts dramatically, creating an internal environment that is fundamentally different from your waking state. Two of the most important neurotransmitters for focus, logic, and attention, serotonin and norepinephrine, are almost completely shut off. The logical brain is essentially taken offline, which is why dream narratives can leap from one place to another without any coherent transition and why we accept the most bizarre scenarios without question. At the same time, another chemical, acetylcholine, becomes much more active. Acetylcholine is heavily involved in activating the brain's emotional centers, like the amygdala, and is also linked to memory formation. This chemical combination, low logic, low attention, but high emotion and memory activation, is the perfect recipe for creating the kinds of experiences we have in dreams. It allows our brains to connect distant memories and powerful emotions in novel ways, free from the constraints of waking reason. In essence, your brain deliberately changes its own operating system every night to create the unique and mysterious state of consciousness that we call dreaming. Fact 41. Sleep paralysis demons are a brain-made hallucination. Sleep paralysis is the terrifying state of being mentally awake but physically unable to move, often occurring just as you fall asleep or wake up. But for many, the horror is amplified by a chilling presence, a menacing figure seen sitting on their chest, standing in the corner of the room, or pressing down on them. These frightening apparitions are a classic feature of sleep paralysis and are known as hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations. They are not supernatural, they are a trick of the mind. This occurs when the brain is caught in a clumsy transition between REM sleep and wakefulness. The mind becomes conscious, but the body is still under the influence of REM atonia, the muscle paralysis that prevents us from acting out our dreams. The brain, in its confused state, detects a conflict. I am awake, but I cannot move. To make sense of this frightening paradox, the threat detection circuits in the amygdala become highly active and the brain creates a narrative to explain the paralysis. It invents an external cause, a demon, an intruder, or a crushing weight, to make sense of the immobility and terror. This experience is so common that it has inspired folklore across the globe for centuries, from the old hag in Newfoundland to the mare in Scandinavian mythology, all personifying the same terrifying but entirely natural glitch in the sleep cycle. Fact 42. Dream logic is why bizarre scenarios feel normal. In a dream, you might be having a conversation with your childhood dog who is also piloting a spaceship, and you accept it without question. A door in your kitchen might open directly onto a tropical beach, and it seems perfectly reasonable. This unquestioning acceptance of the absurd is a hallmark of the dream state, governed by what is known as dream logic. The reason we don't stop and say, "Wait, this makes no sense," is because the part of our brain responsible for that kind of critical thought is taking a break. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which acts as our internal editor, fact-checker, and rational guide, shows significantly reduced activity during REM sleep. Instead, the dream narrative is driven by our emotional and associative brain centers. The storyline doesn't progress based on cause and effect, but on emotional connections and loose associations. A dream about your boss might transition to a dream about your father because they both represent authority figures. A feeling of anxiety might cause the dream setting to suddenly shift from a sunny park to a dark, narrow hallway. In the dream world, if it feels right, it is right. We are fully immersed in the experience, accepting the internal consistency of the dream on its own terms, no matter how bizarre it may seem to our rational, waking minds. Fact 43. Your body's physical needs write dream plots. Your brain may be in another world when you're dreaming, but it's still connected to your body and is constantly receiving signals about its physical state. These signals can become powerful plot devices that the dreaming mind weaves directly into its narratives. One of the most common examples is the full bladder dream. As the physical pressure on your bladder intensifies during the night, your brain interprets this signal and constructs a dream around it. This often manifests as a frustrating and endless search for a toilet, or dreaming of waterfalls, rain, or swimming. It's the brain's way of both alerting you to a real physical need and trying to maintain the state of sleep for as long as possible. The same principle applies to other bodily needs. If you've gone to bed thirsty, you might dream of vast deserts or being unable to reach a glass of water that's just inches away. If a heavy blanket makes you too hot, you could dream of being in a sauna or on a sun-drenched beach. These dreams are a fascinating dialogue between the conscious and the autonomic nervous system, showcasing the brain's role as a creative interpreter, turning a simple physical sensation into a compelling, if sometimes frustrating, dream adventure. Fact 44. You dream only of faces you have already seen. Have you ever woken from a dream filled with a crowd of people, strangers in a city, classmates in a forgotten school, and wondered how your brain could invent so many unique faces? The astonishing answer is, it doesn't. Your brain is not creating new faces from scratch. Instead, it is acting as a masterful casting director, pulling from its vast, lifelong catalogue of every single face you have ever laid eyes on. This includes not just your family and friends, but the cashier at the grocery store, the person you sat opposite on the bus 10 years ago, and the countless faces that have flashed past you on the street for just a fraction of a second. Even these fleeting glances are stored somewhere in the deep archives of your memory. In the dream state, where your mind is making loose connections, it can pull these forgotten faces out and cast them as extras or even main characters in your nightly productions. You won't consciously recognize them, of course, because your original observation of them was so brief. But the data is there. This is a testament to the incredible and slightly unsettling storage capacity of the human brain. Every person you have ever seen is a potential actor, waiting in the wings for their call time in the theater of your dreams. Fact 45. Dreaming is a form of overnight therapy. Some of our most painful and traumatic life experiences can leave deep emotional wounds. One of the most important functions of dreaming, scientists now believe, is to help heal them. This idea is central to the sleep to forget, sleep to remember theory proposed by neuroscientist Matthew Walker. The theory suggests that REM sleep provides a unique biological state that allows us to process difficult memories. During REM, the brain reactivates the emotional memory circuits, bringing the painful event to the forefront. However, at the same time, the brain dramatically suppresses the release of certain stress-related neurochemicals, like norepinephrine. This creates a perfect therapeutic environment. The brain can reprocess the memory of the traumatic event, but without the intense, visceral, and painful emotional charge that was originally attached to it. It's like rewatching a scary movie, but with the sound turned off. By replaying these memories over successive nights in this neurochemically safe environment, the brain gradually strips away the sharp, emotional sting. It doesn't erase the memory itself, that's the remember part, but it does disconnect the memory from its painful emotional baggage. This allows us to wake up the next day with the trauma feeling a little less raw, a little more manageable, transforming our nightly dreams into a powerful, natural form of emotional therapy. Fact 46. Your sleeping position may influence your dreams. While the content of our dreams is primarily shaped by our thoughts, emotions, and experiences, some research suggests that the physical position in which you sleep could also play a subtle role. A study published in the journal Sleep and Hypnosis explored the connection between sleeping positions and dream themes. The findings were intriguing. People who slept on their right side reported more positive and pleasant dreams, with feelings of relief, safety, and peace. They were also less likely to have nightmares compared to those who slept on their left. Left-side sleepers, on the other hand, were more likely to report disturbing and bizarre dreams, including nightmares. The reasons for this are not entirely clear, but some speculate it could be related to how sleeping positions affect the body's internal organs and physiological stress. What about sleeping on your stomach? A different study found that people who sleep in the prone position reported dreams that were more vivid, intense, and often of a romantic or risque nature. The researchers suggested that this might be because sleeping on your stomach can affect your breathing patterns, and the brain interprets this restricted sensation in a more visceral, emotionally charged way. While it's not a definitive science, it's a fascinating thought that simply changing your position in bed might be enough to gently nudge the emotional direction of your nightly adventures. Fact 47. Most dreams are actually very short. A dream can feel like an epic journey, a sprawling narrative that spans hours or even days. You might dream of traveling across a country, living through an entire school year, or having a conversation that seems to last forever. In reality, this is a powerful illusion created by the brain's altered perception of time. Most individual dreams are surprisingly short, typically lasting anywhere from just a few minutes up to about 20 or 30 minutes. We have multiple dream periods throughout the night as we cycle through REM sleep, and these periods get progressively longer as the morning approaches. The first dream of the night might last only 5 minutes, while the last one, just before you wake up, can be the longest and is the one you are most likely to remember. The brain constructs these dreams with incredible efficiency, stitching together scenes, memories, and emotions in a way that implies a longer passage of time. It's similar to a film montage. A few quick shots can suggest a journey that took weeks. Our minds, unbound by the linear clock of the waking world, create a sense of duration that is based on emotional and narrative weight, not on actual minutes. This temporal distortion is one of the key reasons the dream world feels so immersive and distinctly different from our waking reality. Fact 48. Many creative geniuses intentionally use their dreams. History is filled with stories of brilliant ideas arriving in a flash of dream-born inspiration. But for some of the world's greatest creative minds, it was no accident. They actively cultivated their dreams as a tool for their art. The surrealist painter Salvador Dali, for example, sought to capture the bizarre and illogical nature of dreams on canvas. He practiced a technique he called slumber with a key, where he would sit in a chair holding a heavy key over a metal plate on the floor. As he drifted into the hypnagogic state, the creative twilight zone between wakefulness and sleep, his hand would relax, the key would drop onto the plate with a clang, and he would wake up, immediately sketching the strange images and ideas that had flooded his mind. Mary Shelley's classic horror novel, Frankenstein, was famously born from a nightmare. During a stay in Switzerland, she had a waking dream of a pale student kneeling beside the monstrous thing he had created, which then, with the working of some powerful engine, showed signs of life. This single, powerful, dream-born image became the seed for her entire revolutionary novel. These artists understood that the dreaming mind, free from the constraints of logic and convention, was a boundless wellspring of originality, and they found ingenious ways to draw from it. Fact 49. There's an optimal time to wake to remember dreams. The fleeting nature of dreams makes remembering them a common challenge. You can have the most profound experience in your sleep, only for it to evaporate seconds after your alarm clock rings. However, you can significantly increase your chances of catching a dream by understanding your own sleep cycles. We dream most vividly during the REM stage, and we naturally cycle between NREM and REM sleep roughly every 90 minutes. The key to dream recall is to wake up directly from, or as close as possible to, the end of a REM period. If you wake up during a deep, dreamless stage of sleep, any memory of a previous dream will likely be long gone. This is why you sometimes wake up naturally in the middle of the night with a dream fresh in your mind. To leverage this, you can try to time your alarm. If you go to bed at 11 p.m., setting an alarm for 6:30 a.m. after 7.5 hours, or 5 full 90-minute cycles, is more likely to wake you from a dream than an alarm set for 7 a.m. Modern sleep tracking apps and devices also attempt to do this for you, monitoring your sleep phases and sounding a gentle alarm when you are in your lightest, dream-filled stage of sleep, making it easier to carry the memories of that inner world with you into the day. Fact 50. Dreaming is a universal human constant. As we reach the halfway point in our journey, we arrive at a simple yet profound truth. Dreaming is one of the few truly universal human experiences. It is a constant that connects every person who has ever lived. Regardless of culture, geography, or historical era, humans close their eyes and enter a world crafted by their own minds. The specific content may change. An ancient Roman might dream of chariot races while a modern office worker dreams of missed deadlines, but the underlying process is the same. Dreaming transcends language, wealth, and age. A newborn infant, whose eyes twitch in REM sleep, is dreaming. An elderly person, reflecting on their life, is dreaming. People from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the remote villages of the Amazon rainforest all share this nightly pilgrimage into the subconscious. It is a fundamental part of our neurobiology, a shared inner world that proves that for all our external differences, our minds are built from the same mysterious and wonderful blueprint. Dreaming is a testament to our innate need to process, to create, to fear, and to hope. It is a silent, nightly confirmation of our shared humanity, the one country where we are all native citizens. Fact 51. High anxiety in waking life can lead to more nightmares. There is a powerful and direct link between our waking emotional state and the content of our dreams. For individuals who struggle with anxiety, this connection can manifest in the form of frequent and distressing nightmares. The reason lies in a part of the brain called the amygdala, our emotional processing and threat detection center. In people with anxiety disorders, the amygdala is often hypersensitive, meaning it reacts more strongly and readily to perceived threats, even minor ones, throughout the day. This heightened state of alert doesn't simply switch off when they go to sleep. Instead, the overactive amygdala continues its pattern of threat vigilance during REM sleep. The waking worries, fears, and what-if scenarios are carried over into the dream state, where they are transformed into terrifying narratives. The dream becomes a canvas on which the brain paints its anxieties, turning a general feeling of unease into a specific scenario of being chased, trapped, or failing in a critical moment. This can create a vicious cycle. Anxiety leads to nightmares, and the poor sleep and lingering fear from the nightmares can then exacerbate the anxiety during the following day. It's a clear demonstration that our dreams are not separate from our mental health but are often a direct reflection of it, an unfiltered expression of our deepest worries. Fact 52. Events can take a week to appear in your dreams. We often assume that our dreams are a direct reflection of the day we've just had. And while that is sometimes true, the brain's process of incorporating life events into our dreams is much more complex and mysterious. Scientists have identified a phenomenon known as the dream lag effect, where specific, memorable experiences from our waking lives don't show up in our dreams the following night, but rather 5 to 7 days later. For example, if you visit a unique and memorable location on a Monday, you're more likely to dream about it the following Sunday or Monday than you are on the Tuesday immediately after. This suggests that memory consolidation is not just an overnight process. The brain seems to tag certain experiences and let them marinate in the subconscious for several days before they are fully processed and integrated during the dream state. Researchers believe this delay may be part of a multi-stage memory process, where memories are first stored in one part of the brain, the hippocampus, and are later transferred and integrated into another, the neocortex. The dream lag effect provides a fascinating glimpse into this complex timeline, showing that our dreaming mind works less like a daily diary and more like a weekly digest, weaving together experiences from across our recent past. Fact 53. Watching scary movies before bed can cause nightmares. It's a classic piece of advice, and it's backed by science. If you want to avoid bad dreams, it's best to skip the horror movie right before bed. This isn't just a superstition, it's a matter of psychological priming. When you watch a scary movie, you are intentionally exposing your brain to a flood of frightening images, tense situations, and emotionally charged content. Your heart rate increases, your anxiety levels rise, and your brain's fear center, the amygdala, becomes highly activated. Even after the movie is over and you try to relax, this emotional residue lingers. When you then fall asleep, your brain doesn't just wipe the slate clean. The recently activated fears and vivid, threatening images are fresh and easily accessible material for the dreaming mind to work with. Your brain, which is already naturally inclined to process negative emotions during sleep, now has a readily available script of terrifying scenarios to draw from. It's the psychological equivalent of leaving a specific set of ingredients out on the kitchen counter for a chef. While the chef might improvise, they are highly likely to use what is most easily at hand. So, when you prime your brain with fear, you are essentially handing it the perfect ingredients for a nightmare. Fact 54. Dreaming can improve your real-world skills. We know that sleep and dreams are crucial for cementing factual memories, but their benefits extend to practical, physical skills as well. This process is called procedural memory consolidation. When you learn a new motor skill, like practicing a piano sonata, learning a new tennis serve, or even mastering a level in a video game, the brain encodes this as a procedural memory. During REM sleep, the brain reactivates the same neural circuits that were used while practicing the skill. It's the mental equivalent of a sports team reviewing game tapes. In this offline state, the brain can refine and strengthen these neural pathways, pruning inefficient connections and solidifying the most effective ones, all without you having to move a muscle. A study from the University of California, Berkeley, had participants learn a complex finger-tapping sequence. Those who were allowed to sleep and dream after the learning session showed a significant improvement in both speed and accuracy compared to those who did not sleep. This suggests that our dreams are not just a passive replay of events but an active practice ground, a virtual simulator where our minds can rehearse and perfect skills, leading to tangible improvements in our performance when we wake up. Fact 55. Smells are rarely part of a dream. Think back to your last dream. You can probably recall what you saw, what you felt, and maybe even what you heard. But can you remember what you smelled? For the vast majority of people, the sense of smell is conspicuously absent from the dream world. While our dreams are incredibly rich in visual detail and emotional depth, they are often a scentless experience. Scientists believe this is related to how the brain's different sensory systems are activated during REM sleep. The visual and emotional centers are in a state of high alert, creating the cinematic and often intense nature of our dreams. The auditory cortex is also active, which is why we can have conversations and hear sounds. However, the brain regions responsible for processing smell seem to be far less engaged. Furthermore, Our sense of smell is unique in that it is the only sense that does not get routed through the thalamus, the brain's central relay station, before being processed. This might mean it has a more tenuous connection to the parts of the brain, like the hippocampus and amygdala, that are central to dream construction. While it's not impossible to dream of a smell, especially if a powerful, real-world scent like coffee or smoke wafts into the room, it remains one of the rarest sensory experiences in the landscape of the sleeping mind. Fact 56. Depression can significantly alter the dream world. Just as anxiety can shape our dreams, depression has its own profound and distinct impact on our nightly experiences. The sleep architecture of a person with depression is often markedly different. They tend to fall into the REM stage of sleep much more quickly than the average person, a phenomenon known as shortened REM latency. Furthermore, their REM periods are often denser and more intense. This altered sleep pattern is mirrored in the content and tone of their dreams. The dreams of depressed individuals frequently have a more negative emotional content, dominated by themes of failure, loss, guilt, and rejection. They may find themselves in recurring dream scenarios where they are unable to succeed at a task or are being judged by others, a direct reflection of the feelings of hopelessness and low self-worth that characterize the illness in waking life. Interestingly, some of the most effective antidepressant medications, particularly SSRIs, are known to suppress REM sleep. For some individuals, this reduction in the intensity and frequency of emotionally negative dreams can provide a sense of psychological relief, contributing to the overall therapeutic effect of the medication. It's a powerful illustration of the deep, cyclical relationship between our mental health and the stories our minds tell us in the dark. Fact 57. You can dream of yourself from a third-person perspective. When you recall a dream, are you always seeing the world through your own eyes? For many people, the answer is no. While the first-person perspective is most common, it is also entirely possible to dream in the third person, where you watch yourself as a character in a movie. You might see yourself from across a room, from above, or follow yourself through a scene as if a camera is trailing you. This shift in perspective is a fascinating aspect of the dream state's fluid sense of self. In our waking lives, our sense of self is firmly anchored behind our eyes. We are the protagonist. In a dream, that anchor can be lifted. This ability to dissociate from our own viewpoint may serve a psychological purpose. For example, when dreaming about a stressful or traumatic memory, experiencing it from a detached, third-person perspective might be the brain's way of processing the event without having to fully re-experience the intense, first-person emotional impact. It allows for a degree of emotional distance. Some dream analysts also suggest that seeing yourself from the outside can be a call for self-reflection, an opportunity to observe your own behaviors and attitudes from a more objective standpoint, as if your subconscious is encouraging you to take a look at yourself. Fact 58. The meaning of dream symbols is not universal. Many popular books and websites offer dream dictionaries that claim to provide a single, definitive meaning for any given symbol. See a snake? It means X. Lose your teeth? It means Y. However, the true meaning of a dream symbol is deeply personal and, just as importantly, culturally specific. A symbol that is positive in one culture can be deeply negative in another. For example, in many Western cultures, a dragon is often a symbol of a fearsome, treasure-hoarding monster that must be slain, a representation of a great obstacle or an inner demon. In many Eastern cultures, however, a dragon is a revered and auspicious symbol of power, wisdom, luck, and strength. Similarly, the color white is associated with purity, weddings, and angels in the West, but in many parts of Asia, it is the color of mourning and funerals. Even a common animal symbol like a spider can be interpreted differently. One person might see it as a threat due to a personal phobia, while another, who admires their webs, might see it as a symbol of creativity and patience. The true language of your dreams is your own. It's written in a dialect made up of your personal memories, emotional associations, and the cultural stories you've absorbed throughout your life. Fact 59. Sleep talking is mostly unrelated to dreams. Many people believe that talking in one's sleep, a phenomenon known as somniloquy, is the act of speaking the dialogue of a dream out loud. While this can sometimes be the case, sleep talking is generally not a direct broadcast from the dream world. It is a type of parasomnia, an undesirable sleep behavior, that can occur during any stage of sleep, not just the dream-heavy REM stage. When it occurs during the deeper, dreamless stages of NREM sleep, the talk is often nothing more than nonsensical mumbling, groans, or random words. This is because the brain's speech centers can fire off signals without the engagement of the higher-level cognitive areas that produce coherent language. The brain is essentially talking to itself without a script. When sleep talking does occur during REM sleep, it can be more closely related to the content of a dream. It might be a single, clear phrase or a shout in response to a dream event. However, because the body is in a state of muscle paralysis, atonia, during REM, the vocal cords and mouth are also largely immobilized, which is why a full, clear conversation is very rare. So, while a sleep talker might occasionally give away a snippet of a dream, most of what they say is simply the sound of a brain idling, not a secret monologue. Fact 60. The moments just before sleep are a goldmine for creativity. The hypnagogic state is the magical, fleeting window of consciousness between full wakefulness and the onset of sleep. It is not quite a dream, but it is a profoundly creative mental space. During this period, the brain begins to relax its grip on linear, logical thought, allowing for a torrent of free associative, dreamlike imagery and ideas to flood the mind. You might see fleeting geometric patterns, vivid faces, or snippets of bizarre scenes, or hear fragments of music or conversation. This state is a recognized hotbed for insight and innovation precisely because it's a moment where the rational and the irrational parts of the mind briefly overlap. Many creative thinkers have intentionally harnessed this state. Inventor Thomas Edison, as we've learned, used his slumber with a key technique to jolt himself awake from this state to capture ideas. Artists and writers have also used this mind-wandering period to access unique concepts that are unavailable to the fully conscious mind. It's a moment when the brain is making novel connections between disparate ideas, a form of natural brainstorming. By paying attention to your thoughts in these precious few minutes as you drift off, you can sometimes catch a brilliant idea or a solution to a problem that your logical, waking mind would never have conceived. Fact 61. The myth about cheese causing nightmares has some truth. It's an old wives' tale that has been passed down for generations. Eating cheese before bed will give you nightmares. While the direct link is more fiction than fact, cheese itself doesn't contain nightmare-inducing properties. There is some scientific basis for why it might lead to more memorable or bizarre dreams. Certain aged cheeses, such as Stilton, cheddar, and brie, are rich in an amino acid called tyramine. Tyramine triggers the brain to release a stimulant and stress neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. This chemical is usually suppressed during sleep, but a sudden influx of it can make your sleep more restless and increase the time you spend in the later, lighter stages of sleep where you are more easily woken. This, in turn, makes it more likely that you will remember your dreams. Furthermore, norepinephrine can make those dreams more vivid and emotionally intense. It's not necessarily causing a nightmare, but it's turning up the volume on your dream's intensity. More broadly, eating any large or heavy meal close to bedtime can disrupt sleep. The digestive process raises your body temperature and metabolic rate, which can lead to more frequent awakenings throughout the night, and therefore, better dream recall. So, while cheese isn't a guaranteed recipe for terror, it can certainly make your nightly cinema a more memorable experience. Fact 62. A dream journal is your most powerful tool for recall. The single most effective method for improving your ability to remember your dreams is to keep a dream journal. The process is simple. Place a notebook and pen, or a recording device, by your bedside, and the very first thing you do upon waking, before you sit up, check your phone, or even think about the day ahead, is to write down everything you can remember about your dreams. The reason this works is twofold. Firstly, it combats the natural process of dream amnesia. As we've learned, dream memories are incredibly fragile and fade within minutes. By recording them immediately, you're transferring the experience from your fleeting short-term dream memory into a more stable, long-term format. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the consistent act of journaling sends a powerful message to your brain. It signals that you consider your dreams to be important information worthy of attention. Over time, your brain will adapt, strengthening the neural pathways between your dreaming and waking consciousness and making dream recall a more automatic and effortless process. After just a few weeks of consistent journaling, many people find they go from remembering nothing to recalling multiple detailed dreams each night. It's a form of mental training that allows you to build a bridge to your inner world. Fact 63. Most dreams are a continuation of your waking thoughts. While we often focus on the bizarre and surreal nature of dreams, the reality is that the vast majority of them are surprisingly mundane. This is the central idea behind the continuity hypothesis, one of the most well-supported theories in dream research. It proposes that the content of our dreams is not random but is largely a continuation of our waking thoughts, concerns, and experiences. The people you interact with, the activities you engage in, and the problems you worry about during the day are the primary raw material for your nightly dream scripts. If you spent your day anxiously preparing for a presentation, you are highly likely to dream about it. If you had a meaningful conversation with a friend, they are likely to make an appearance. From this perspective, dreaming is simply thinking in a different biochemical state. The logical, linear structure is gone, replaced by a more associative and emotional form of cognition, but the core subject matter remains the same. This is why dream analysis can be such a powerful tool for self-understanding. By looking at the themes and emotions in your dreams, you can get an unfiltered view of what is truly occupying your mind, the deep-seated concerns and desires that drive your waking life. Fact 64. Narcolepsy can cause dreams to spill into waking life. For most people, there is a firm wall between the world of dreams and the waking world. For someone with narcolepsy, that wall is porous and can collapse without warning. Narcolepsy is a chronic neurological condition where the brain is unable to properly regulate the sleep-wake cycle. A key feature of the disorder is the intrusion of REM sleep phenomena into waking consciousness. One of the most dramatic symptoms is cataplexy, a sudden and brief loss of voluntary muscle control, which is essentially the muscle paralysis of REM sleep, atonia, occurring while the person is fully awake. It is often triggered by strong emotions like laughter or surprise. Furthermore, people with narcolepsy frequently experience incredibly vivid and often frightening hypnagogic hallucinations. They are essentially dreaming while still awake. As they are falling asleep or waking up, the dream world can superimpose itself over reality, causing them to see, hear, and feel things that aren't there. This blurring of boundaries between sleep and wakefulness means that they live in a world where the fantastical and surreal nature of a dream can erupt into their conscious reality at any moment, a constant and disorienting reminder of the brain's delicate control over our state of being. Fact 65. Every character in your dream is a part of you. When you dream of other people, a critical parent, a helpless child, a wise guide, or a menacing stranger, it is easy to think of them as separate entities. However, a profound perspective offered by Gestalt therapy and Jungian psychology suggests that every character in your dream is, in fact, an aspect of yourself. From this viewpoint, a dream is not a story about you interacting with others. It is an internal dialogue among the different parts of your own personality. The dream is a stage, and every actor on it is a piece of your psyche. The character who is angry might represent your own repressed anger. A dream character who is lost or confused could be the part of you that feels uncertain about your life's direction. A powerful, heroic figure might symbolize your own untapped potential and inner strength. Even inanimate objects or the setting of the dream can be seen as representing parts of your inner landscape. By engaging with these characters and asking, "What part of me does this person represent?" you can gain incredible insight into your own internal conflicts, hidden talents, and disowned feelings. It transforms the dream from a random narrative into a rich and deeply personal conversation with yourself. Fact 66. Alcohol is a powerful dream suppressant. A glass of wine or a nightcap before bed might seem like a good way to relax and drift off to sleep, and while it can help you fall asleep faster, alcohol has a profoundly disruptive effect on the quality of your rest and your ability to dream. Alcohol is a sedative, but as your body metabolizes it throughout the night, its effects change. In the first half of the night, alcohol actively suppresses REM sleep, the stage where our most vivid and essential dreaming occurs. Your brain is robbed of this crucial period of emotional processing and memory consolidation. However, as the alcohol begins to wear off, the brain tries to aggressively compensate for the deficit. This triggers what's known as a REM rebound in the second half of the night. The brain plunges into a more intense and chaotic REM stage than usual. This rebound is why a night of drinking often leads to sleep that feels fragmented and unrefreshing. It also explains why the dreams you do have are often more vivid, strange, and frequently unpleasant or anxiety-ridden. You wake up feeling exhausted and perhaps unsettled by the intensity of your dreams, a direct result of the brain's frantic and ultimately unsuccessful attempt to catch up on its most important work. Fact 67. Dreams of flying often symbolize freedom and power. Of all the fantastical experiences possible in the dream world, the dream of flying is one of the most common and universally exhilarating. The feeling of soaring effortlessly through the air, looking down at the world below, often leaves the dreamer with a profound sense of joy and liberation upon waking. Dream analysts from various schools of thought agree that flying dreams are typically a positive sign, directly linked to feelings of freedom, power, and control in one's waking life. This dream may occur when you have recently overcome a major obstacle, broken free from a restrictive situation, or gained a new, higher perspective on a difficult problem. The act of flying symbolizes rising above your earthly concerns and limitations. The specific style of flying can also offer deeper meaning. Are you flying with ease, like a superhero? This might reflect a newfound sense of confidence and personal power. Are you struggling to stay aloft, worried about falling? This could indicate that while you are striving for freedom, you're still facing insecurities or obstacles. Whatever the context, a flying dream is often an invitation from your subconscious to embrace a sense of possibility and to recognize your own power to rise above the challenges you face. Fact 68. The groggy, still dreaming feeling has a name. You're jolted awake by your alarm, but your mind feels thick, slow, and disconnected. You struggle to think clearly, your reactions are sluggish, and it feels as though your head is still half submerged in the dream world. This common and disorienting state is known as sleep inertia. It's a transitional period where the brain has not yet fully shifted from a state of sleep to a state of wakefulness. This feeling is most intense when you are awakened abruptly from the deepest stage of non-REM sleep, slow-wave sleep. During this stage, your brain's metabolism and blood flow are at their lowest. When an alarm suddenly forces you awake, the parts of your brain responsible for rational thought, decision-making, and self-awareness, primarily the prefrontal cortex, can take a significant amount of time to boot up and get back online. This cognitive impairment can last anywhere from a few minutes to over an hour. It explains why you might stumble around, struggle to answer a simple question, or press the snooze button without even really being aware of it. It's a physiological reminder that waking up is not like flipping a switch, but rather a gradual process of your conscious mind slowly coming back into focus from the depths of sleep. Fact 69. Dream catchers have a deeply symbolic origin. The dream catcher has become a popular decorative item around the world, but for the Ojibwe people of North America, it is a sacred and ancient tool with a specific, powerful meaning. According to tradition, the dream catcher was a gift from the spider woman, a spiritual protector of the people, especially the children. The circular shape of the hoop represents the circle of life and the journey of the sun and moon across the sky. The woven web inside is meant to be a filter for the sleeper's dreams. The Ojibwe believe that the night air is filled with dreams, both good and bad. The web of the dream catcher is designed to catch the bad dreams, which are then held fast until the first rays of the morning sun arrive to dissolve them. The good dreams, however, know the way to the center. They pass through the small hole in the middle of the web and gently slide down the attached feathers and beads to the sleeping person below, bringing them peace and positive visions. It was traditionally hung over a child's cradle or bed not just as a decoration, but as a form of spiritual protection, a beautiful and tangible representation of the desire to shield a loved one from fear, even in the mysterious world of sleep. Fact 70. Dreams can compensate for your waking imbalances. According to the influential psychologist Carl Jung, one of the primary functions of a dream is to strive for psychological balance. He proposed that our dreams often act as a compensatory force, presenting us with ideas, emotions, and scenarios that are the opposite of our conscious waking attitude. The goal of this compensation is to bring our attention to the neglected or underdeveloped parts of our personality, pushing us toward wholeness. For example, a person who is exceedingly shy, meek, and conflict avoidant in their daily life might have recurring dreams of being a courageous warrior, an assertive leader, or an outspoken hero. This is the psyche's way of saying, this part of you also exists and needs to be acknowledged. Conversely, a person who is overly arrogant, confident, and dismissive of others might have dreams of being lost, humbled, or shown to be a fool. This is the dream world's attempt to deflate the ego and introduce a needed dose of humility. By presenting this opposing viewpoint, the dream doesn't just cancel out the waking attitude. It provides a more complete picture of the self and nudges the dreamer toward a more balanced and integrated way of being. Fact 71. You can get stuck in a terrifying false awakening loop. A false awakening is the uncanny experience of dreaming that you have woken up. The dream is often perfectly mundane. You hear your alarm, you get out of bed, you brush your teeth, and you start your day. Everything feels completely real, until something strange happens that makes you realize you are still dreaming, and you jolt awake for a second time, only to find that you are still in another dream. This is a false awakening loop, and it can be an incredibly disorienting and anxiety-inducing experience. The dreamer can feel trapped, going through the motions of waking and starting their day multiple times, each awakening proving to be just another layer of the dream. This phenomenon is thought to be related to anxiety about one's waking life responsibilities. If you are particularly stressed about an upcoming event, like an important exam or a flight you can't miss, your brain can become obsessed with the act of waking up on time. This anxiety can cause the dreaming mind to create a simulation of the morning routine as a form of rehearsal. The loop occurs when the anxiety is so high that the brain keeps running the simulation over and over, creating a frustrating and sometimes frightening feeling of being unable to escape into the real, waking world. Fact 72. The bizarreness of dreams is a sign of a creative mind. The strange, illogical, and often downright bizarre nature of our dreams can be perplexing, but it's also a hallmark of a highly creative cognitive process. The very mechanism that creates dream weirdness is the same one that fuels creative, out-of-the-box thinking. This is because during REM sleep, the brain enters a state of hyperassociation. The logical, rigid control of the prefrontal cortex is relaxed, allowing the brain to make broad, loose connections between concepts and memories that it would never link together in a waking state. Your brain starts to think in metaphors, connecting a difficult boss to a crumbling building, or linking the feeling of love to the image of a soaring bird. This cognitive flexibility is the cornerstone of creativity. Studies have shown that people who report having more bizarre and vivid dreams also tend to score higher on tests of creativity and problem solving. Their minds are more practiced at making novel connections and seeing things from a different perspective. So, if your dreams are often strange and surreal, don't dismiss them as random nonsense. Instead, see them as a sign of your brain's powerful creative engine, a nightly workout for your imagination that helps keep your mind flexible, innovative, and open to new ideas. Fact 73. Dreams may be a primal survival simulator. Why are so many of our dreams filled with anxiety and threats? Why do we so often dream of being chased, falling, or fighting? According to the threat simulation theory, this isn't a malfunction, it's a feature. This evolutionary theory of dreaming proposes that the brain uses dreams as a kind of ancient virtual reality simulator for survival. For our early ancestors, the world was filled with constant, life-threatening dangers, from predatory animals to rival tribes. The theory suggests that the dreaming brain evolved to be a safe, offline space to practice and rehearse the motor and perceptual skills needed to deal with these threats. By repeatedly simulating dangerous scenarios, the brain could hone its life-saving instincts and response mechanisms without any real-world risk. An ancestor who had practiced escaping a saber-toothed tiger in their dreams might have a split-second advantage when they finally faced one in real life. This could explain why negative emotions and threatening situations are so much more common in dreams than positive ones. The dream world was not meant to be a pleasant escape, but a primal training ground, a biological defense mechanism that has been passed down through millennia to help us prepare for the worst. Fact 74. Some cultures made dream sharing a morning ritual. In modern Western society, dreams are typically viewed as intensely private, personal experiences. But this is not a universal perspective. For many ancient and indigenous cultures, dreams were not meant to be kept to oneself. They were seen as a vital source of information for the entire community. Among the Iroquois of North America, for example, dream sharing was a central part of their morning ritual. Families and community members would gather to recount their dreams, and the elders or shamans would help to interpret their meaning. A dream was not just a reflection of the dreamer's personal psyche, but could contain important warnings, prophecies, or guidance for the group as a whole. A dream about a failed hunt could lead to a change in strategy. A dream of conflict could prompt a peacemaking effort with a neighboring tribe. For cultures like the Iroquois, the dream world was seen as being just as real and important as the waking world, and to ignore a dream's message was considered foolish and dangerous. This communal approach to dreaming highlights a profound belief in interconnectedness, a worldview where the inner life of an individual held wisdom that could be crucial for the survival and well-being of the entire tribe. Fact 75. We tend not to dream about our biggest worries. It seems logical that our most significant, all-consuming life stressors would be the star characters in our nightly dreams. But research has revealed a curious paradox. While dreams often reflect our daily concerns, our brains may actively avoid dreaming about our most intense and ongoing emotional traumas. This idea, put forth by dream researcher Rosalind Cartwright, is known as the silencing of the central image. The theory suggests that a trauma or a life crisis that is too emotionally hot or overwhelming might actually be suppressed in our dreams. The dreaming brain seems to recognize that processing this material is too difficult or disruptive to the function of sleep. Instead, it tends to focus on older memories or less intense emotional issues that are more manageable. You might be going through a painful divorce, but your dreams are instead filled with anxieties about a minor conflict with a coworker from months ago. The brain is essentially practicing its emotional regulation skills on these lesser problems. Once the intensity of the major life crisis begins to fade in waking life, it will then, and only then, start to appear in the dream world, ready to be processed and integrated by a mind that is better equipped to handle it. Fact 76. Your eyes are literally watching your dream unfold. The rapid eye movement, or REM stage of sleep, gets its name from one of its most distinctive features, the darting, flickering motion of the eyes beneath their closed lids. For a long time, the purpose of these movements was a mystery, but a growing body of evidence supports a fascinating theory known as the scanning hypothesis. This theory proposes that the eye movements are not random twitches at all. Instead, our eyes are actively moving to look at and follow the action within the dream world, just as they would if we were awake and observing a real scene. It's as if the dreamer is a live audience member, their eyes tracking the events on their own internal cinema screen. Neuroscientists have found compelling evidence for this. In one study, they were able to correlate the direction of a dreamer's eye movements with their reported dream content. For example, a dreamer who reported a dream of watching a tennis match showed distinct side-to-side horizontal eye movements. Another who dreamed of climbing a tall ladder showed predominantly vertical eye movements. This suggests that the brain is generating the dream world and the physical act of looking at that world simultaneously, creating a remarkably unified and immersive perceptual experience, even in a state of complete paralysis. Fact 77. You can become conscious and take control of a nightmare. A nightmare can be a terrifying and powerless experience, leaving you feeling like a victim in your own mind. However, there is a state in which you can turn the tables, the lucid nightmare. This occurs when you become lucid, that is, you become aware that you are dreaming, while in the middle of a bad dream. This moment of awareness is a game changer. The simple recognition that this is just a dream, and it cannot harm me, can be enough to instantly diminish the intense fear and anxiety. For many, this is where it ends. The awareness defangs the nightmare, and it either dissipates or transforms into a normal dream. But for a practiced lucid dreamer, it's a moment to seize control. Once you are aware that you are the creator of your own dream world, you can begin to consciously alter it. You can confront the monster that is chasing you and ask it what it represents. You can give yourself superpowers to fight back. You can change the scary, dark alley into a bright, sunny field, or you can simply choose to fly away from the situation entirely. Learning the skill of lucid dreaming can be a powerful therapeutic tool for those who suffer from recurrent nightmares, transforming them from a passive victim into the empowered director of their own mental movie. Fact 78. Learning a new language in your sleep is a myth. The idea of hypnopedia, or sleep learning, is an enticing fantasy that has been a staple of science fiction for decades. Imagine being able to learn a new language, master complex equations, or memorize a history textbook simply by playing an audio recording while you sleep. Unfortunately, while it would be a wonderfully efficient way to learn, science has shown that it is largely a myth. Our brains are incredibly active during sleep, but their primary task is not the acquisition of new, complex information. Instead, they are focused on the crucial work of memory consolidation, sorting, filing, and strengthening the memories that were formed during the day. For true learning of complex subjects to occur, focused attention and conscious engagement are required, both of which are absent during sleep. While some studies have shown that very simple forms of conditioning are possible during sleep, like associating a specific sound with a smell. This is a world away from learning the vocabulary and grammar of a new language. Your brain cannot absorb and process new, declarative knowledge when you are unconscious. So, while sleep is absolutely essential for helping you remember what you've already studied, you still have to do the hard work of learning while you are awake. Fact 79. Trivial details from your day become dream props. Have you ever had a dream featuring a person you barely noticed, a line from a song you overheard, or a random object you glanced at during your day? Sigmund Freud coined a term for this phenomenon, day residue. He observed that our dreams often pluck these seemingly trivial, insignificant, and emotionally neutral elements from our recent waking life and weave them into the dream narrative. Why would the brain bother to include these random bits of mental flotsam? Freud believed that these minor details served as a convenient and harmless disguise for more significant, deeply repressed wishes and thoughts. The subconscious, he argued, wants to express a powerful, forbidden desire. To get past the censor of the conscious mind, it attaches this desire to a trivial, non-threatening element from the previous day. For example, a repressed feeling of anger toward a family member might be too difficult to confront directly, so the dream instead features a brief, annoying interaction you had with a stranger at the store, using that stranger as a stand-in. From this perspective, the day residue is like a piece of driftwood in the ocean. It's not important in itself, but it's what the deeper currents of the unconscious grab onto to make themselves visible on the surface. Fact 80. The temperature of your room shapes your dreams. We've learned that a high fever can cause bizarre dreams, but even subtle changes in your ambient sleeping environment can have a noticeable effect on the emotional tone of your dreams. Our bodies are highly sensitive to temperature, even during sleep, and the brain often translates this physical comfort or discomfort into the language of the dream. Sleeping in a room that is too hot, for example, is known to disrupt the sleep cycle, particularly the restorative deep sleep and REM stages. This disruption can lead to more frequent awakenings and, as a result, a higher recall of dreams that are often more anxious, aggressive, or claustrophobic in nature. The physical feeling of being overheated and trapped under blankets can manifest as dream scenarios of being in a desert, being unable to breathe, or being chased through a sweltering jungle. Conversely, sleeping in a room that is too cold can also trigger anxiety dreams. The body's physical stress from shivering and trying to stay warm can be interpreted by the dreaming mind as an emotional threat, leading to dreams of being lost in the snow, falling into icy water, or feeling exposed and vulnerable. A cool, comfortable room, it seems, is not just good for your body, it's good for your mind's nightly cinema. Fact 81. PTSD nightmares are different from regular nightmares. While a typical nightmare is a frightening story created by the mind, the nightmares associated with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, are something else entirely. They are not symbolic representations of fear, they are terrifyingly literal and precise replays of the actual traumatic event. A person with PTSD doesn't just dream of a monster. A combat veteran might re-experience the sights, sounds, and terror of a specific firefight, or a car accident survivor might be trapped in a loop of the moment of impact. This key difference is why PTSD nightmares are so damaging. As we've learned, one of the key functions of REM sleep is to act as a form of overnight therapy, reprocessing painful memories without the associated stress chemicals. In PTSD, this process is broken. The trauma is so severe that the brain is unable to strip away the emotion. Instead, the dream comes with a full, original dose of terror and helplessness, causing the brain and body to relive the trauma as if it were happening all over again. This not only prevents healing but can actually strengthen the traumatic memory, making the fear even worse. It traps the individual in a vicious cycle, where the sleep that is supposed to bring relief becomes the source of their greatest torment. Fact 82. It is almost impossible to feel bored in a dream. Our dreams are capable of producing a vast spectrum of intense emotions: heart-pounding terror, profound grief, soaring joy, and crippling anxiety. Yet, there is one common waking emotion that is almost entirely absent from the dream world: boredom. Have you ever had a dream that was just plain dull? It's highly unlikely. The reason for this lies in the very nature of the dreaming brain. Boredom arises from a state of monotony and understimulation, a situation where your mind is not being sufficiently engaged. The brain during REM sleep is the polar opposite of this. It is in a state of hyperstimulation. It is wildly creative and associative, constantly shifting scenes, introducing new characters, and leaping between different ideas and memories. The narrative, if one exists at all, is never static. It is always in flux, driven by the brain's restless, emotional, and non-linear logic. A dream simply doesn't stay on one uninteresting topic long enough for the feeling of boredom to set in. If a dream scenario were to become monotonous, the dreaming mind would almost instantly transform it, introducing a bizarre new element or shifting the scene entirely. The dream state is fundamentally an environment of novelty and change, making boredom an unwelcome and almost impossible guest. Fact 83. The inability to scream in a dream is a physical reality. It is one of the most terrifying tropes of a nightmare. You are facing an imminent threat, you open your mouth to let out a desperate, life-saving scream, but no sound comes out. The feeling of silent, powerless screaming is incredibly common and deeply frightening. This experience is not just a psychological trick, it is a direct consequence of the physiological state of your body during REM sleep. As we know, when you enter the REM stage, your brainstem sends a signal that paralyzes the vast majority of your body's voluntary muscles. This state, REM atonia, is a crucial safety mechanism that prevents you from physically acting out your dreams. This paralysis doesn't just apply to your arms and legs, it also applies to your vocal cords. In the dream, your brain is sending the command to scream with all its might. You are mentally screaming. However, the signal gets stopped at the brainstem. The command never reaches the physical muscles required to produce sound. The result is a distressing disconnect between your mind's intention and your body's ability to respond. You feel the effort, the strain, and the desperation of the scream, but are met with a terrifying silence, a direct and visceral experience of the body's natural dream state paralysis. Fact 84. Dreams may be your personal social simulator. While the threat simulation theory suggests dreams evolved to help us practice survival skills, a complementary theory proposes that they also evolved to help us navigate a different kind of jungle, the complex world of human social interaction. This is the social simulation theory of dreaming. The theory argues that the dream world acts as a safe and private virtual reality space where we can rehearse and refine our social skills. In our dreams, we interact with a wide range of characters, friends, family, rivals, strangers, and authority figures. We have conversations, navigate arguments, form alliances, and experience social acceptance and rejection. According to this theory, these simulated encounters allow us to practice reading social cues, understanding others' perspectives, and experimenting with different social strategies without any real-world consequences. A dream about a conflict with your boss could be your mind's way of running through different approaches to a difficult conversation. A dream about a pleasant social gathering might be reinforcing the behaviors that lead to positive social bonds. From this evolutionary perspective, dreaming is a crucial tool that helps us to maintain relationships, manage social hierarchies, and ultimately thrive within our complex social groups. Fact 85. Abraham Lincoln reportedly dreamed of his own assassination. History is filled with claims of prophetic dreams, but few are as famous or as chilling as that of US President Abraham Lincoln. Just a few days before his assassination in April of 1865, Lincoln recounted a deeply disturbing dream to his wife, Mary, and a small group of friends. In the dream, he was wandering through the White House, hearing the sounds of quiet, mournful sobbing. He went from room to room, but found them all empty, though the mournful sounds grew louder. He continued until he reached the East Room, and there he saw a coffin resting on a platform, guarded by soldiers, and surrounded by a crowd of grieving people. Confused, he asked one of the soldiers, "Who is dead in the White House?" The soldier replied, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." Lincoln reported that the dream haunted him and puzzled him greatly. Just over a week later, he was shot and killed at Ford's Theater. While skeptics might point to coincidence or the fact that the story was embellished after the event, it remains one of history's most powerful and unsettling examples of a dream that seemed to pierce the veil of the future, a personal nightmare that tragically mirrored a nation's imminent grief. Fact 86. Your brain is more active during dreams than when awake. It's one of the great paradoxes of sleep. While your body is lying still, deeply at rest, your brain can be more active than it is during many moments of your waking day. This is why REM sleep, the stage where most dreaming occurs, is also known as paradoxical sleep. Physiological measurements show that the brain in this state is a hive of activity. Brain scans reveal that oxygen consumption and metabolic activity skyrocket, reaching levels comparable to or even exceeding those of an awake, intensely focused brain. The electrical activity, measured by an EEG, also shifts from the slow, rhythmic waves of deep sleep to the fast, low-amplitude waves characteristic of waking consciousness. This intense activity is not spread evenly, it's concentrated in specific areas. The visual cortex, which processes sight, and the limbic system, which governs our emotions, memories, and motivations, are particularly fired up. This is why our dreams are so visually rich and emotionally powerful. At the same time, the logical, rational part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, is quieted down. This combination of a highly active, emotional, visual brain with a resting rational brain is the perfect neurological recipe for creating the vivid, strange, and immersive worlds we experience every night. Fact 87. You cannot learn a brand new skill in a dream. While we have learned that dreaming can help consolidate and even improve skills that you are already practicing in your waking life, the fantasy of learning a completely new, complex skill from scratch while you sleep remains just that, a fantasy. You cannot go to bed having never played the guitar and wake up with the ability to play a complex song. The reason for this lies in the fundamental nature of learning. Acquiring a new procedural skill, like playing an instrument or speaking a language, requires the formation of brand new neural pathways. This process demands focused attention, conscious effort, and the physical feedback of trial and error in the real world. Your brain needs the experience of your fingers finding the right frets, or your mouth forming an unfamiliar sound, to begin building the necessary mental architecture. Dreams are not a place of acquisition, they are a place of consolidation. The dreaming brain is brilliant at taking the fragile, newly formed memories and skills from the previous day and strengthening them, integrating them into your existing knowledge base. But it can only work with the raw material you provide it. It can rehearse a play, but it cannot write the script from thin air. Fact 88. Your brain processes trivial and important events on different timelines. The way our brains incorporate daily events into dreams reveals a sophisticated, multi-layered processing system. We've learned about two separate phenomena, day residue and the dream lag effect, and they are not the same. They show that our brains handle different types of information on different schedules. Day residue refers to the tendency for trivial, emotionally neutral, and often random snippets from the immediately preceding day to pop up in our dreams. That strange pattern on a stranger's shirt or a line from a song you overheard might appear as a prop in tonight's dream. This information is processed and integrated quickly. The dream lag effect, on the other hand, applies to more significant, novel, and emotionally charged experiences. These major events tend to be incorporated into our dreams not the next night, but approximately 5 to 7 days later. This suggests that the brain quarantines this more important information, allowing it to settle before it is fully processed and woven into our long-term memory narrative during the dream state. In essence, the brain has a fast track for the small stuff and a slower, more deliberate processing path for the big, important events of our lives. Fact 89. Your dreams use disguises to express forbidden thoughts. According to Sigmund Freud, our dreams are a battleground between our unconscious desires and our internal censor, the part of our mind that represses inappropriate or threatening thoughts. To get these forbidden thoughts past the censor, the dreaming mind employs a series of clever disguises, a process he called dream work. Two of the main techniques are displacement and condensation. Displacement occurs when the intense emotion you feel about a person or situation is redirected toward a safer, less important target in the dream. For example, instead of dreaming about being furious with your boss, which might feel too threatening, you might have a dream where you are inexplicably enraged at a store clerk over a trivial matter. The clerk is simply a stand-in. Condensation is the process of merging multiple different ideas, people, or feelings into a single, composite dream image. A dream character might have the face of your friend, the voice of your mother, and the name of a childhood pet. This single figure could represent a complex web of feelings and ideas related to all three sources. Through these and other mechanisms, the dream can express its true, latent content in a disguised, symbolic form that is more acceptable to our conscious mind. Fact 90. Some dreams are just vague thoughts, not stories. We tend to think of dreams as the vivid, cinematic, and often bizarre narratives that occur during REM sleep. However, dreaming is not exclusive to this stage. A simpler, more thought-like form of mental activity can occur during the non-REM, NREM, stages of sleep as well. When researchers wake subjects up from NREM sleep, they don't typically report elaborate stories. Instead, they describe something much more static and less dreamlike. These NREM dreams, sometimes called white dreams, are often just fleeting, isolated images, vague feelings, or simple, looping thoughts. A person might report just thinking about work or holding a single, static image of a tree in their mind. These mental experiences lack the narrative movement, emotional intensity, and immersive quality of a true REM dream. They feel more like the wandering thoughts you might have as you are just beginning to drift off. Most of the night is spent in NREM sleep, which means for hours at a time, your mind is likely engaged in this simpler, quieter form of background processing. It's the REM dreams that get all the attention, but these fainter, thought-like dreams are a constant and more common form of your mind's nightly work. Fact 91. Your dreams are populated by universal, ancient symbols. Beyond the personal symbols that are unique to your own life and memories, psychologist Carl Jung believed that our dreams tap into a much deeper, shared layer of the human psyche. He called this the collective unconscious, a reservoir of innate, universal symbols and themes that are inherited by all of humanity. These universal symbols are known as archetypes. They are primordial patterns of experience that appear in the myths, legends, and religions of cultures all over the world, and they also appear as characters and themes in our personal dreams. For example, the archetype of the wise old man might appear in your dream as a teacher, a guide, or a wizard, representing your own inner wisdom and a desire for guidance. The archetype of the shadow represents the dark, repressed, and unknown parts of your own personality, your fears, insecurities, and hidden desires, and might appear as a menacing pursuer or a villain. Other common archetypes include the persona, the social mask we wear, the child, representing innocence and future potential, and the great mother, symbolizing nurturing and creation. According to Jung, when these powerful, ancient symbols rise up in our dreams, they are calling for our attention, inviting us to understand and integrate these universal aspects of the human experience into our own lives. Fact 92. A major scientific theory says dreams are meaningless. While psychologists have spent over a century trying to decipher the hidden meanings in our dreams, a prominent neurobiological theory proposes a much simpler, and for some, more radical idea: dreams are inherently meaningless. This is the activation synthesis hypothesis, first proposed by Harvard psychiatrists J. Allen Hobson and Robert McCarley in 1977. According to this model, dreams are not profound messages from the subconscious. Instead, they are the brain's attempt to make sense of random, chaotic electrical impulses that fire from the brainstem during REM sleep. The theory goes like this: during REM, the brainstem sends a flurry of random signals, activation, up to the higher parts of the brain. The forebrain, which is the part of us that loves stories and looks for patterns, intercepts this jumble of nonsensical data. It then does its best to weave these random signals, images, and emotions into a coherent narrative, synthesis. In this view, a dream's bizarre content is not symbolic. It's just the result of the brain trying to create a story out of neurological noise. The dream of flying might not be about freedom. It might just be the cortex's interpretation of signals from the body's vestibular system. This theory places dreams firmly in the realm of biology, suggesting they are a fascinating but ultimately accidental byproduct of our nightly brain function. Fact 93. Some nightmares are actually panic attacks in your sleep. For some people, a nightmare is not just a scary story. It's a full-blown panic attack that occurs while they are asleep. These are known as nocturnal panic attacks or dream anxiety attacks, and they differ from typical nightmares in a crucial way. In a normal nightmare, a frightening dream narrative unfolds, which then causes your body to react with a rapid heart rate, sweating, and feelings of terror. In a nocturnal panic attack, the process is reversed. The physical symptoms of panic happen first. For reasons that are not fully understood but are linked to anxiety and stress, the body's fight or flight response can be triggered during sleep, launching the person into a state of intense physical panic. The sleeping brain, suddenly flooded with these terrifying sensations, a racing heart, shortness of breath, a feeling of impending doom, scrambles to make sense of what is happening. It then instantly creates a nightmare narrative that matches the physical terror. The brain essentially asks, "Why am I feeling this incredible fear?" and answers by generating a dream of being chased, falling, or being trapped. For the sleeper, the experience is indistinguishable from a normal nightmare, but its origin is a deeply physiological, rather than purely psychological, event. Fact 94. The scariest nightmares often happen just before you wake up. If you've ever been jolted awake by a particularly terrifying nightmare in the dark, early morning hours, you are not alone. There is a clear biological reason why our worst dreams tend to cluster in the latter part of the night. Our sleep cycle is not uniform. As the night progresses, the time we spend in deep, non-REM sleep decreases, while the time we spend in REM sleep increases. The first REM period of the night might last only 10 minutes, but the final one, occurring in the hours just before you naturally wake up, can last for 45 minutes to an hour. These later REM periods are not just longer, they are also denser and more intense. The brain is at its most active, and the dreams it produces are more complex, more vivid, and more emotionally charged. This creates the perfect storm for a powerful nightmare. The brain has more time to build a detailed and frightening narrative, and its emotional centers are at their peak of activity. This is why a nightmare that rips you from your sleep at 6 a.m. often feels far more real and terrifying than a bad dream you might have had earlier in the night, a grand, frightening finale to your mind's nightly productions. Fact 95. Forgetting your dreams is a sign of a healthy mind. Many people feel a sense of frustration or failure when they can't remember their dreams. But what if forgetting is not a bug, but a crucial feature? One of the most important jobs of a healthy, functioning brain is to accurately distinguish between internal imagination and external reality. If our minds were cluttered with the thousands of bizarre, emotional, and often illogical memories from our dreams, this distinction could become dangerously blurred. The process of dream amnesia, the rapid forgetting of our dreams upon waking, is believed to be a vital protective mechanism. As our consciousness shifts from the dream state to the waking world, our brain's chemistry changes. The new neurochemical environment prioritizes engagement with the real world and actively suppresses the retrieval of dream memories. It's a mental reset that wipes the slate clean, preventing us from confusing a dream conversation with a real one, or a dream fear with a genuine threat. While dream journaling can help us hold onto these experiences for self-reflection, the brain's natural tendency to let them go is a sign of a well-regulated mind. It ensures that we start each day grounded, sane, and firmly rooted in the shared reality of the world around us. Fact 96. The naked in public dream is about vulnerability. Alongside teeth falling out and being chased, the dream of finding yourself naked in public is one of the most common anxiety dreams people experience. The feeling is one of acute embarrassment, exposure, and shame. However, this dream rarely has anything to do with a literal desire or fear of being naked. Instead, it is a powerful metaphor for deep-seated feelings of vulnerability and emotional exposure. This dream often occurs when you are in a new situation where you feel you are being judged or scrutinized, such as starting a new job, giving a presentation, or entering a new relationship. It reflects a fear that others will see the real you and that you will be found lacking or fraudulent in some way, a classic manifestation of imposter syndrome. The specific context of the dream offers further clues. Are others pointing and laughing? This might point to a fear of ridicule. Or does no one seem to notice you're naked? This could symbolize that your feelings of vulnerability are internal and not actually perceived by others. The dream is a manifestation of your fear of your own imperfections being put on public display, a sign that you are feeling psychologically exposed and unprepared in some area of your waking life. Fact 97. While you're dreaming, your brain thinks it's real. The reason dreams can feel so incredibly real and the emotions so potent is that, from a neurological perspective, your brain doesn't know the difference. The parts of your brain that process sensory information, generate emotions, and control movement are just as active during a dream as they are when you are awake and experiencing those things in reality. When you dream of running through a field, the motor cortex in your brain is firing as if you were actually running. When you dream of seeing a beautiful sunset, your visual cortex is lighting up as if you were truly watching it. The fear you feel when a monster is chasing you is generated by the exact same part of your brain, the amygdala, that would trigger fear if you were in actual danger. The only key difference is that during REM sleep, two things are happening. Signals from the outside world are largely blocked, and the rational, critical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, is significantly dampened. Without this reality check center to question the bizarre events, and with no competing sensory information from the outside world, the dream becomes your total reality. Your brain accepts the experience as genuine, which is why the emotions it generates are completely authentic. Fact 98. Our collective dreams may be changing over time. The human brain is the same as it was thousands of years ago, but the world we feed it is constantly changing. Some dream researchers believe this is causing a gradual but significant shift in our collective dream content. Historically, dreams were filled with images from the natural world, animals, weather, and landscapes. Animals, in particular, were once one of the most common dream motifs, appearing as guides, threats, or symbols. However, studies analyzing dream reports from the mid-20th century to the present day suggest a noticeable decline in the frequency of animal dreams. In their place, our modern anxieties and inventions are appearing. People now dream of their phones, of missing an important email, or of navigating the complexities of social media. The figures of authority or threat are less likely to be wild beasts and more likely to be intruders, faceless figures in a crowd, or even abstract anxieties about work and social status. Our dreamscape is a mirror, and as our waking world becomes more urbanized, technological, and socially complex, our inner world is slowly reshaping itself to reflect this new reality, a testament to how deeply our environment shapes our subconscious minds. Fact 99. You can die in a dream, and it's a symbol of change. There is a persistent and frightening myth that if you die in a dream, you will die in real life. This is completely, unequivocally false. In reality, dreaming of your own death is a surprisingly common experience, and like most dream themes, it is almost always symbolic, not literal. Far from being a prophecy of your own demise, dreaming of death is a powerful metaphor for an ending, a transition, or a profound transformation occurring in your life. It represents the death of your old self to make way for a new beginning. This dream is common during major life changes, graduating from school, ending a relationship, changing a career, or letting go of a long-held belief. It is the subconscious mind's way of processing the end of one chapter and the start of another. The dream can be frightening, but its underlying message is often a positive one of rebirth and renewal. By experiencing this symbolic death in the safety of the dream world, your mind is acknowledging a fundamental change, shedding an old identity, and preparing you to embrace the new version of yourself that is emerging in your waking life. Fact 100. The biggest mystery is not what dreams mean, but why we dream. We have journeyed through 100 facts, exploring the science, psychology, history, and mystery of the dream world. We've seen that dreams can be a form of overnight therapy, a survival simulator, a memory consolidation service, a social rehearsal space, and a wellspring of creative genius. We've also considered that they might simply be the brain's attempt to make a story out of random neurological noise. And here we arrive at the final, most profound truth. After thousands of years of human thought and decades of intensive scientific study, the ultimate, singular purpose of dreaming remains one of the greatest unanswered questions in science. There is no single, universally accepted theory that explains it all. Perhaps the answer is that dreams are not just one thing, they are all of them. They are a multifaceted, endlessly complex phenomenon that serves a multitude of functions for our minds and bodies. The dream world remains the final, personal frontier, a nightly reminder that even in an age of incredible discovery, the most profound mysteries can lie within ourselves, waiting to be explored in the world that begins when you close your eyes.